Hello, everyone. Okay, Mohammed Kudus. The announcement is about to come. Tottenham Hotspur have just released a tweet in which they've shown a chair with stars all over it. Is that to denote a star boy? But the signing of Mohammed Kudus from West Ham is about to be announced by Tottenham Hotspur, and I promised you that I would go live as soon as that announcement comes. And little did I know when I thought that we would be doing that announcement tonight, that also we would be talking about the huge Bomba. It's come out of nowhere. And again, another huge bit of credit and props to Johan Lange and his recruitment team, because out of nowhere, this Morgan Gibbs-White deal that is now going to be announced tomorrow when he's done his medical, absolutely one of the biggest surprise deals in my recollection of being a Tottenham fan. And this day, in terms of us having spent about nearly £120 million in the past 24 hours, absolutely incredible. A few of you in the comments saying Spurs official have posted a stool. I assume that's I don't really know what it means. It's got stars on it. Does that mean is it about a star boy? But it will be the announcement, I'm pretty sure, any minute, of Mohammed Kudus, the first signing we will have bought from West Ham since 2011. But Terry Plows in the comments saying Gibbs-White is going to Man City. Well, I don't think so, mate. I'd be very surprised. Hold on, I've got another notification from X. Yes, Tottenham have teased the signing of Mohammed Kudus. It's a stool with stars in the background. Let's talk, guys, and please do get your questions in the comments, but let's talk about where this money has come from. There are rumors that an external sponsorship deal has been done worth around £300 million. Sorry, guys, I dropped out there. You just double check that I'm back. I'm back. Apologies. Oh, that's it. Of course. HodGod10 says, incredible news. Kudus sits on a stool when he scores. Can you guys just let me know? Let me know in the comments that you've got me back, because I accidentally got rid of myself. Matty Smith says, all good. Decent. Yeah. Scribble Scrabble says, oh, the stool makes sense now. Yeah, I didn't even get that myself. I'm an idiot. Yeah, let me know in the comments how you feel about this Morgan Gibbs-White news. I personally think that this shows that there are going to be many more transfer moves this summer. I spoke yesterday, didn't I, when we first heard about the Kudus deal definitely happening and being accepted. I said I had a feeling that Spurs would get maybe minimum 2, maybe 3 first-team ready Premier League experienced players. And now we have 2 in 24 hours. I think they're about to release probably at 9:30 the news for the signing of Mohammed Kudus. And I imagine that it'll be a similar time tomorrow night when they'll announce the signing of Morgan Gibbs-White. Unfortunately, tomorrow night I will be in Brighton. I have a stand-up gig, so I won't be able to go live for you. But I can tell you that I'm going to release a documentary, a little short 7-minute, 8-minute documentary that I've made about Kudus. I'm going to release that now, actually, because I've got it all ready. So that will be on my YouTube channel for you to watch once this is done. And also, I will try and get on with you tomorrow as we keep on the exciting news around Morgan Gibbs-White. Yeah, I'm going to release that now. There we go. So yeah, little Mohammed Kudus documentary. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Really appreciate all your support, guys. Gary Riddell says, hello from Newport Beach. Hello, mate. Rio says, come on, you Spurs. What is going on? Heidi says, what the heck is going on? And Matty Smith says, yes, Barnaby, I can't believe this. We're 100% showing ambition. I'm excited about these signings. Yeah, so I think one of the things we have to talk about, guys, is the reality that all the stick that Daniel Levy has got for a long time it's not stick that really is going to fly this transfer window, is it? Because it looks like they're trying to do some serious business. And I've been talking, haven't I, about there being a budget of around 200 million with the potential of another 100 million to spend on top of that. And it looks very much like, doesn't it? that is coming to fruition, guys. Just releasing this on TikTok as well. But yes. Yeah, Fabrizio Romano says it's now all signed for Mohammed Kudus to Tottenham from West Ham. He's readying himself. We've got a lovely super chat here from Paul Lasky. Thank you. Says we're basically Man City now, title challenger. Hoy, choo choo. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Hilarious. Listen, do you know what I love about it? And we'll get into the Daniel Levy stuff in a bit. But I love that it's not only just Premier League players, but exciting Premier League experienced players. And also in Morgan Gibbs-White, think back to when England won that World Cup, Unders World Cup. I don't know, what was it, 5-6 years ago now? Who was in that team? Solanke and Gibbs-White. They played together before. And Spurs have always done well previously when they look to buy exciting young English talent. And I personally think this is good strategy from Tottenham. If you're a Nottingham Forest fan tonight, you're not happy, are you? You're realistically, you are not happy at all because they lost Anthony Elanga to Newcastle, £55 million, and Morgan Gibbs-White. Why did they allow a £60 million release clause? I have to say, just thinking about Antoine Semenyo, I think this is a very common thing now amongst players where they will be and are willing to sign longer contracts worth more money with the clubs they're at, that you might deem stepping stone clubs like Bournemouth, like Nottingham Forest, but they insist on having these release clauses in them, kind of attainable release clauses for a period of time during a following summer. And that's clearly what has happened with Morgan Gibbs-White. And Tottenham have done their due diligence, seen what that is, heard what that is, and decided to go straight in for him. And I think it's personally, I think it's a great move for Spurs. I've heard quite a few people kind of saying, oh, where will he fit in the team? That's not the point. We need a squad, not a team. It's not about just an 11. We saw last year, having just an 11 doesn't help you when you get loads and loads of injuries. So don't you worry about that. He will be an excellent, absolutely brilliant rotational option with James Maddison. Madders does tend to get injured. Kulusevski can also play in that 10. But also, could Morgan Gibbs-White potentially play deeper as well in a kind of 6 or an 8? Just checking my X. Here we go. Tottenham Hotspur have announced it. He only wanted Spurs. Welcome to North London, Mohammed Kudus. Brilliant. I'll just show that to you guys. Go and check it out on your Twitter. He only wanted Spurs. Absolutely nailing it. And then here's the video. Oh, brilliant. Mohammed Kudus. Really brilliant. Star boy. There you go. He is a very talented player. And Spurs have got their first big signing of the summer, £55 million, and from the rivals, Mohammed Kudus signs. Brilliant. So exciting. Aslan. Actually, let's go to Azar first. The gear change must be Vinay. He's shown Levy how it can be done without being reckless. I think that's a really great point. I personally don't think it can be coincidence that Vinay has come in the door and suddenly Tottenham are, like you said, moving up a gear. Very exciting. Aslan says Gibbs-White is a wonderful player. Two Wheels Life says Rishi and Biss on their way out for sure. I wouldn't say anything is for sure. Nothing is for sure in this world. Bissouma and Richarlison are now back in the building. Thomas Frank will be seeing them at training, and they will have their opportunity to impress Thomas Frank. And if they impress him, then I don't think anything is guaranteed. But the thing is with Richarlison, too many injuries, and the thing with Bissouma, lack of concentration at times. I'm just keep checking my Twitter because I want to bring you up to date with all of the news as it comes. Presumably there'll be an interview on the website very soon. As soon as that comes, I'll bring it to you. Lee Adler. I'm one of Levy's fiercest critics, but fair play to him. I now want a number 6 and maybe another striker. Lots of rumours today that the next bit of this apparent investment that has come into Spurs will be looking to be spent on Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. A lot of talk that Adam Wharton is high up on the list and that Tottenham are willing to, in some reports' words, break the bank for Adam Wharton. Let's see what happens. He's undoubtedly a very exciting player. I just really like that there seems to be some joined up thinking at Spurs now. They seem to have all agreed, having finished 17th but won the Europa League, that what Tottenham need is more Premier League experience down the middle of the team, in the first team. And Kudus and now Morgan Gibbs-White, what a start that is. Gibbs-White, of course, has previously played with Brennan Johnson, so that's really good. And Dominic Solanke has played with Morgan Gibbs-White, so they are partnerships that are already there. And now Aslan says, Saudi Arabia is coming for us, guys. Just wait. There are reports that this sponsorship deal could potentially be some investment from a Saudi company. I don't have anything confirmed on that. It's just something I've read. So it could be complete bollocks. But, you know, it does seem interesting that Tottenham, having with Daniel Levy having said in an interview only a few months ago, Tottenham are cash poor, that suddenly they have out of nowhere, without having sold anyone, straight away gone and spent £120 million in 24 hours. Let me know what you think, guys, but I cannot think of a time in my life supporting Tottenham Hotspur where they've spent so much money in such a short period of time. And also with the Morgan Gibbs-White signing, a surprising one as well. I think I would have to put it up there as one of the most exciting days when it comes to transfers since Jurgen Klinsmann signed from Alan Sugar's yacht outside Monaco back in 1994. Scribble Scrabble says, also a bit of a blindside for Forest fans. They must be fuming. Well, I'll tell you this. I've seen quite a lot of Forest fans on social media. They are officially fuming. And here's the picture. This is on Fabrizio Romano's Twitter account. Here's the picture of Kudus with his shirt. It says, official confirm Mohammed Kudus joins Tottenham Hotspur from West Ham for £55 million. 6-year deal for Kudus, who only wanted to join Tottenham despite interest from several clubs. And that is why Tottenham have used, he only wanted Tottenham on their official release for him. And here is Kudus in the Spurs shirt wearing his number 20 shirt. So if you want Kudus on your back, you get the number 20 sorted out. And actually, the back of our shirt looks decent, doesn't it? With those little stripes down the shoulders. I'm into that. I hadn't really realized that. Very, very cool. VJ says, Super Cup trophy. Here we come. That's right. The European Super Cup final is in a month and 3 days' time. It is on the 13th of August. It's in Udinese. And we will have, at the very least, available for selection, Kota Takai, Mohammed Kudus, and very much by the looks of things, as of, I'd say, this time tomorrow, Morgan Gibbs-White will be a Tottenham player as well. Kudus is 24 years old. Morgan Gibbs-White is 25 years old. So still young, still exciting, still with room to grow and stuff to learn, but also huge amounts of Premier League experience. They know the rough and tumble of it. They're not going to have to acclimatize. And that is what is hugely exciting for Tottenham Hotspur. Okay, Tottenham have released this. We're delighted to announce the signing of Mohammed Kudus from West Ham United, subject to work permit. And now this is the release on the website that I'll read to you. The Ghana international has agreed a long-term contract and will sign and will wear the number 20 shirt. Born in Nima in Accra, Ghana, Mohammed spent his early years locally with Strong Tower FC before joining the Right to Dream Academy in 2012. Ahead of his 18th birthday, he moved to Europe and joined Nordsjælland in 2018. And after making 57 senior appearances and scoring 14 times for the Danish outfit, he earned a move to Ajax in July 2020. That move was for about £8 million, by the way. An exciting and direct attacker, Mohammed made an instant impact for the Dutch side with 4 goal involvements in his opening 3 appearances. In his debut season, he helped Ajax claim the Eredivisie title and the Dutch Cup. During his time in the Netherlands, he made 87 senior appearances in all competitions, scoring 27 goals. So that's a goal just less than, basically just every 3 games. That's a really good return. And in 21-22, helped the team become Eredivisie champions once again. The following year, Mohammed enjoyed a prolific campaign, scoring 18 times in all competitions, including 4 in the Champions League. In August 2023, he joined West Ham United. That was for, by the way, £38 million. And made his Premier League debut the following month as a substitute for netting 2 goals on his full debut in the UEFA Europa League. Nominated for the Premier League Player of the Month in December, Mohammed enjoyed an impressive first campaign in English football with 14 goals and 9 assists. That term, he also claimed West Ham's goal of the season with a sensational, and it was sensational, solo effort against Freiburg in the Europa League, a goal which was also nominated for the FIFA Puskas Award. Named Ghanaian Footballer of the Year in each of the last 2 years, the forward made a total of 80 appearances for West Ham, scoring 19 times. Having represented Ghana at under-20 level, he earned his first senior cap in 2019 and scored on his debut in the Cup of Nations qualifying win over South Africa. He has 42 caps and 12 goals for his country. Mohammed was called up to the Black Star squad for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar and scored twice in the group stage. He's also represented Ghana at the 2023 African Cup of Nations. So that is the Tottenham Hotspur official announcement on their website. Mohammed Kudus is fully coys, £55 million. Let's all raise a drink to that. Boiling the piss of West Ham fans while getting an absolutely brilliant player through the door. Seren says this, 100% agree about the need for Spurs to improve depth after last season. So glad we're going after proven quality to bolster a squad of talented youngsters. Exciting times ahead. Exactly. I think the entire board and recruitment team have recognized that we have some incredible young, exciting players. And now what they needed was experience and players who they can learn from, but also try and get in the team ahead of. That's just Sky Sports announcing it there. Scribble Scrabble says, Barnaby, when we're done with our signing spree, can you do a fan starting 11 live voting poll to see how we would set up? Will be interesting to put the puzzle pieces together. Yeah, I can do that if I can work it out, what that means. But yeah, I can do that. Yeah, fan starting 11, we can do that for sure. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Scribble Scrabble also says, I can now not wait for the season. Jonathan says, any links to good midfielders? Only what I said earlier, really, which is that some kind of very ITK reports that we really are hard in for Adam Wharton. This is Tottenham's latest release. This is Kudus in the black away shirt, which looks great, doesn't it? Really, really cool. Daniel Pender, this is a good one. I usually hate being proven wrong, but when it comes to this beautiful club, I can accept I was wrong about Levy this window. That's good. That's good. Listen, football is subjective and it's all about opinions. And we all had different opinions. A lot of people felt that, maybe we'd sign one player for big money in Kudus, but straight away, bang, they've gone, nope, we're going to go and pay the release clause for Morgan Gibbs-White and get him in too. I'll just go through some of the reports as it went through the day today. As I mentioned, there's rumours of an external sponsorship deal worth £300 million for Tottenham from Saudi Arabia. No confirmed reports of that, but it's just something that came out. It was about just after 5 o'clock today that Fabrizio Romano gave it the here we go for Morgan Gibbs-White, with his medical having been arranged for tomorrow. Previous to that, it was the Telegraph who said that we're ready to trigger the 60 million release clause and talks are accelerating between the two clubs. Now, this is where I call absolute BS on football journalism, because the reality is that hasn't all been happening this afternoon. The reality is that Tottenham now have a way of doing their business, and I wonder if they make clubs sign NDAs and make agents sign NDAs, because they have a way of doing business where very often the players that they get in, it does not get leaked till the very last moment. And it was within an hour between these kind of rumors from the Telegraph and from the Athletic with David Ornstein, who said Tottenham turning their attention to Nottingham Forest midfielder Morgan Gibbs-White. Thomas Frank is a long-time admirer of the 25-year-old and will look to convince him. It was within that hour of that from David Ornstein that it was a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. So that means it's all been being done under the radar by Johan Lange, by Vinay Venkatesham, maybe a little bit by Don Fabio Paratici, who knows, and by Daniel Levy. So it's been going on for days, and I do wonder whether they now make basically any club that they talk to about a player sign an NDA, because it's really, really impressive how so many of our deals just get done really, really quietly. So very exciting. And I don't know about you guys, but I think 60 million for an England international in Morgan Gibbs-White, who gives a lot of assists, scores a lot of goals in the Premier League. And also, I've talked for a while, haven't I, about how I haven't felt that we've properly, fully replaced Christian Eriksen. Mainly, I think James Maddison is an incredible player in the 10, but I think he gets injured too much. And Eriksen very rarely got injured. I now feel between James Maddison and Morgan Gibbs-White, we now have that position covered, which is incredibly exciting, I have to say. Let's see. And here, this is a good one on the Spurs Express. which says, don't think he's holding any grudges. And they've shown that Mickey van der Ven has given one of the earliest likes to the signing of Mohammed Kudus. And that is relevant, of course, because Mickey van der Ven was the player who got in the fight with Mohammed Kudus when Mohammed Kudus got sent off against Spurs. At least van der Ven was one of the earliest people that Kudus tried to fight. He tried to fight the whole team, basically, after that. So that's very cool. Very, very cool. Hansi G, thank you for your comments. Says Gibbs-White, best player for Forest last year. Yeah, like I said, Forest fans are not happy tonight. Yes, they've got 105 million pounds through the door, and they'll be able to spend that. And rumours that they're trying to get Johan Visser, who was almost like, I think, a little bit of a red herring that was released today, because there was talk that we were going after him, but actually it seemed like a bit of a red herring as the Morgan Gibbs-White thing was happening. Yeah, very exciting. Phil Green says, come on, you Spurs, never a dull moment, always do things the hard way. Is this going to finally be our year? Always excited start of season, but wow. Well, today doesn't feel like we've done it the hard way, does it? Feels like today we're doing it the right way. And listen, imagine if in the next week as well, we get another one in. Bingo, bango. Listen, I think Thomas Frank will want his players in before they leave for the tour to Asia in a couple of weeks' time. It's just really, really exciting. Paul Bean here says, the Spurs social media team will make a meal of the meeting between Van der Ven and Kudus like QT and Rishi a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, but I think that's good. I think that's good social media management. I have to say, the Tottenham Hotspur social media team, and I think it's led by the girl whose name I've forgotten again, and apologies to her, but they are brilliant at the moment. They're really, really good, especially their short form stuff. Steve Pereira says, Levy takes the flat, but maybe had his hands tied by Joe Lewis. Well, Joe Lewis is still involved. Listen, all this talk today is that there's some kind of investment, and I'm sure we'll hear over the next coming days on the podcast from the likes of Ali Gold, from the likes of Jack Pitt-Brook and the guys at the View from the Lane, and maybe even from Flav at the Lab, who has a lot of, and the Fighting Cock, who has a lot of contact. I'm sure we'll hear from them whether there's any truth to that. It does seem very unlike Daniel Levy to speculate to accumulate, by which I mean to make these signings before player sales. However, let's not forget that the last time we got into the Champions League under Antonio Conte, that was when ENIC did a little share bond issue and got 150 million pounds into the club. And that's when we signed Perisic, amongst others. And so maybe it's the Champions League money that is really calling the shots here. But who knows? If there's been some investment and there really is 300 million pounds to spend that's kind of come out of nowhere, then this could be a really genuinely exciting window. John Mansfield asks, I wonder where Archie Gray will play. Well, there have been some talk today, some rumours I've seen around that Thomas Frank absolutely adores Archie Gray and sees him potentially as one of the 2 sixes in a double pivot. So let's see what happens. Tony Young says, I'm glad I renewed my season ticket. Yeah. To be fair to that, a lot of people complain, don't they, when the season ticket release dates come out and say that Daniel Levy leaks potential signings that he never goes through with and blah, blah, blah. Well, this year, to be totally fair, Levy is absolutely coming through with it, isn't he? He's the club are, they're impressing everybody, aren't they? They're impressing everyone. We've got 2 genuine ready-made players to go straight into the first team if needed. We've got options. We've got unbelievable options. And one thing I'd also add, QT Romero, who has been saying for a while now, I want this club to show the ambition to match my own. Well, he's back at training at the moment, QT Romero, and all the reports are that Atletico Madrid have dropped off in their interest for him. So I wonder how he's going to go in his chats with Thomas Frank now and chats with Daniel Levy, because if Atletico Madrid are not willing to pay the money, then he's not going to go anywhere. And I think there's a chance. I don't know what's going to happen with Son. The latest reports with Sonny are that maybe he wants to stay, but I don't think it's guaranteed that Sonny gets the captaincy this year, because I think he's unlikely to start every game. I really do. So let's see what happens. Yeah, 2 Wheels Live. Exactly what I was saying about the social team. Spurs know how to do a player signing announcement, don't they? Really good. Hansi G likes the idea of Bergvall playing with Morgan Gibbs-White. Yeah, Lucas Bergvall. What a young talent we have there as well. And now he's going to be surrounded with players with Premier League experience who can really get at the opposition. Kudus loves to drive, beat a player left or right. And then Morgan Gibbs-White supplying the ammunition. Imagine we've got Kudus on the right and Morgan Gibbs-White picking up the ball in the middle and just playing through balls like he did for Elanga all season for Nottingham Forest last year. That is something I can really see happening. It is unbelievably exciting. Yeah. Let's see what else have we got here? We jock, sorry. Do you think we'll go for a striker? I know you like him, but I'm not a big fan of Solanke, and Richarlison is probably going. I think we'll probably try and get a rotational striker. But like you said, I'm just seeing some more reports here. Fabrizio Romano says this: Tottenham not done in the transfer market after Kudus and Gibbs-White. There's still more to come. That is from the transfer Don, Fabrizio Romano. There is still more to come after Kudus and Gibbs-White. So that goes with everything I'm saying, that there is money to spend. Just go back to Wee Jock's message. I really like Solanke, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think we made him under Big Ange Postecoglou nearly enough chances. I really don't. And I think things will change under Thomas Frank. I think he'll get more chances of the ilk that he got at Bournemouth, where he scored 20 Premier League goals. But I do think that if Richarlison leaves, Tottenham will try and get a kind of rotational striker. I saw some reports today that maybe we would look at Evan Ferguson from Brighton and feel like we could rebuild his career. But I just spoke to a West Ham friend of mine today, and he was like, no, he was just really poor at West Ham, just not good enough. Razzle Dazzle says, who would you want next? I think the links to Adam Wharton as a 6 are very exciting. Very, very exciting. So let's see. Archer is asking about the terms of the deal. I believe the Morgan Gibbs-White deal is £60 million up front, but most deals are amortized over a number of years. Well, all the talk about the Mohammed Kudus deal is that that's to be paid over 3 years. I would imagine the Gibbs-White deal will be paid over similar. That, it's been going for the last 25, 30 years. Deals have not been paid up front. That's the reality of it. And here is some good news. Yes, Ghana didn't qualify for AFCON, so this is good for Spurs. Great lad, Kudus is class. That's right. So Kudus will not be leaving. I didn't know this until yesterday, but Kudus will not be leaving for the African Cup of Nations in January. So that is really, really good news. And Jacob Steenberg, that's right, said that the deal for Kudus is worth £54.5 million and will involve payments being spread out over 3 years. And Tom Barkley said Ghana didn't qualify for the African Cup of Nations, which runs from late December into January. So Mohammed Kudus will be available to Spurs during that period. Sammy Merkbell about Kudus said at least 6 top clubs inquired about a deal for him, but he prioritized a move to Spurs. And Sky Sports said Chelsea and Newcastle expressed interest in Kudus, but Kudus only wanted to move to Spurs. So very, very cool. As I've said, reports about Adam Wharton, but reputable reports saying Spurs looking to add a central midfielder to the squad this transfer window, as well as wanting to add at least one more younger player this window as well. So they're all the reports coming out today. John Mansfield asked a question that I was wondering earlier. Is this rumored £300 million sponsorship something to do with the naming rights of the stadium? Well, if it was, you would think they'd have to announce that before spending the money, surely. But who knows? I mean, Daniel Levy is a clever businessman, so he might have done an equivalent to what we did with Real Madrid with Gareth Bale, which is basically get the deal done and signed, but make them not say anything so we can buy the replacements first. So maybe that's what he's asked to do. We've got a big lump of money in for some sponsorship deal. Could be for the stadium rights, could be for something else. But he said on NDA, do not say anything because we want to spend it on players before the selling clubs hear about it, so they cannot up their prices. Although that wouldn't have counted for anything with Gibbs-White, of course, because his was a £60 million release clause that Tottenham have just gone straight out. Bang. Go and get him. Daniel Pender says this: Van der Ven is a good lad. Watch him and Kudus be best mates. That's what happens in football. What goes on the pitch stays on the pitch. And yeah, I totally agree. The social media team will do something with that for sure. It's just so cool to be positive about Spurs. Like, I know, obviously, we had the best week of our lives after the Europa League final, but then I just felt that because of the negativity around the potential of Ange leaving and then him actually getting sacked and whatever, Tottenham managed to almost drag the positive away from themselves. But now, with deals like this, you feel like Daniel Levy actually has suddenly realised, and probably with the help of Vinay Venkatesham, you don't finish 17th in the league unless there's something seriously wrong at the club. And what was wrong with the team? And what was seriously wrong with the team, in my eyes, was a lack of experience and a lack of depth. And Tottenham are going straight out relatively early in this window and going, bang, we're not going to have this happen again. So Richarlison has just posted on Instagram a picture of the fight between the Spurs players, with him going in the background between Van de Ven and Kudus. And then underneath he's written, "Welcome to the Spurs family, Kudus." Richarlison is hilarious. I know the only reason I would want Richarlison to leave is just because he gets injured too much and because he's got a sell-on value because he's a striker and he scores goals. But in terms of in terms of how he is around the changing room and bonding and all of that stuff, I think Richarlison is a great guy to have around. So absolutely brilliant from Richarlison on his Instagram there. Yeah, Scribble Scrabble says, I was talking about the social media stuff. He says, did you see the before and after the test run stuff? I did see that. That was a clever idea, wasn't it? Really, really clever idea. Paul Bean, I cannot believe we've had 2 signings of this magnitude in a single window, much less than 24 hours. Crazy. Yeah. Don't you think it's a statement of intent? I think it's a statement of intent from Tottenham that we're not going to be messed with and that we've absolutely seen where the trouble is and we're going to fix it. Hansy G, thank you for your comments. Says, our kids are just going to be stronger this season. They'll get bigger bodies. That's huge. I agree. I would put in that category. Mikey Moore needs to get a bit bigger. Pat Matasar, I think, needs to fill out a bit as well. And Archie Gray a little bit as well, and Lucas Bergvall. Though Bergvall, to be fair to him, won all of the Tottenham Hotspur Player of the Year awards in his first season, when basically for the first 3 or 4 months of the season, he was trying to acclimatise to the Premier League. Danger Ranger says, VDV for captain. No, for me, and I know this gets me some pelters sometimes, but for me, if I'm Thomas Frank, I sit Christian Romero down and I say, Christian, you are a leader. I saw what you did in the Europa League final. You dragged us there almost single-handedly through those knockout rounds. I want you to be my captain. I want you to lead from the front. And I think if you are the captain, you will drag us over the line in so many situations. And I personally think if we gave the captaincy to Christian Romero, he would play many more games. He would not do that kind of not bothered about Tottenham when there's an Argentina game thing around. And he would be more concentrating as well. That's what I think. But it's just my opinion. And obviously a lot depends on what's going to happen with Sonny. Another picture from the Tottenham social team there. Kudus with his number 20 on again. Very, very cool. Eddie says, I don't think Gray's passing is good enough as a starting 6. One thing I'd say about that is from the evidence we've seen so far in playing in a 6, I can totally see why you'd say that. However, I think playing in the 6 under Thomas Frank is going to be a lot more protected than it was under Ange Postecoglou. They'll have, whoever plays in those double pivot positions will have someone alongside them. So it'll be a lot easier. And therefore, I think Archie Gray as an option in that number 6 is, I think this could be a really good managerial change for Archie Gray. And obviously, what's great about Archie Gray is we've seen under Ange Postecoglou that he can play as a centre-back, he can play as a right-back as well. And Thomas Frank loves players who can play in numerous positions. Excuse me. Just because I was mentioning QT Romero, I'll give you some of the reports on him. Atletico Madrid have apparently grown tired in their pursuit of Christian Romero and have now given up on their attempts to sign him. Tottenham's response has always been blunt. They weren't going to sell Christian Romero, and Atleti are now looking at different options. Atletico Madrid received a resounding rejection from Tottenham after making a formal approach for Romero. They were willing to reach 55 million euros for the centre-back, but Spurs informed them not to bother sending the proposal. Spurs made it clear they will not enter into talks to sell the player, and Fabrizio Romano said that the situation with Romero is quiet right now. Spurs have not yet received any official bid from Atletico Madrid. So, listen, I don't think this is a Spurs spending money that we're expecting to receive from the sale of Christian Romero at all. I don't think so. I think this is Tottenham under the leadership of Vinay Venkatesham, Johan Langer's recruitment, and Thomas Frank all being absolutely aligned, knowing, and probably Thomas Frank saying in his interview for this job, saying, I'm only interested in taking this job if we invest in experienced, senior, Premier League ready players to top off what you have already, which is an extremely talented, young and exciting squad. And that is what Tottenham are getting. And 2 massive signings in 24 hours. Hold on here. Okay, so the Spurs social team have done a video where they make it look like it's Kudus and Van der Ven shaking hands. Nice touch. Very nice touch from Spurs. Some of you said in the comments they'll try and do something like that, and they've literally already done it. There we go. And Scribble Scrabble says social media already on it with a handshake. There we go. Henry says if we get Gibbs-White, Maddison becomes a squad player, which is amazing. We now have good depth. Exactly. That's exactly what it's all about. Depth. There will be some players going out, though, and there have been reports that Yves Bissouma is top of Jose Mourinho's list of midfield targets for Fenerbahce. Spurs want 20 million to sell him. 20 million, I think, would be absolutely fair enough for Yves Bissouma with 1 year left on his deal. I'd absolutely take that. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Over 500 of you watching concurrently. I love that. Please do give this video a like on YouTube if you haven't. The more likes we get, the more suggested videos of other Spurs fans this will go into, and we'll get more viewers. And if you're not already a subscriber to my channel for daily Tottenham Hotspur transfer news at the moment and more, please do press that subscribe button. I have just released on YouTube as well. Watch it later when you're going to bed. Just a little short documentary about Mohammed Kudus' career getting all the way to Tottenham Hotspur. Joe Blogs, interesting point. Real man management challenge for Frank in a World Cup season. Well, we've been asking for Tottenham to act like a big club for a long time, and now we're acting like a big club. So I don't see that as a problem for Thomas Frank. And frankly, excuse the pun, if there was anyone I'd want to be having to deal with this kind of issue, with having a lot of options, it's Thomas Frank, because he seems honest, he seems calm, he seems to be a brilliant communicator, and I think we've got a good man for that. I really do. Matthew Ball says, Gibbs-White and Kudus are good signings, not great. Why are our fans reacting like we're signing Musiala and Vinicius Jr.? Okay, a bit surprised at that negativity, Matthew. I'll ask you then, Matthew, who do you think Tottenham could sign? Bear in mind that the only players that Tottenham can really sign are players that those clubs above us in the top six and abroad. You know, so you can add on to the top six the likes of, or maybe the top four, you can add on the likes of Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona. They have to be players who those clubs are not interested in. So, Matthew, who do you think realistically Tottenham could get that would be better than Kudus and Gibbs-White? Because I'm excited about both of them, I have to say. I really am. David Talisman says, most exciting day since Van der Vaart. There we go. Rafael Van der Vaart was an incredibly exciting day to be a Spurs fan because it happened late at night on the transfer deadline day. Daniel Levy said to Harry Redknapp, how would you feel about potentially getting Rafael Van der Vaart from Real Madrid for 8 million? And Harry was like, yeah, I'll snap your hand off. And that really was a brilliant day. Charlie Vale, thank you for coming over, mate. I really appreciate that. Hotspur ZAR says, the Kudus video just dropped on Spurs Official. Check it out. Yeah, feel free to go and check it out and then come back after, guys. Very happy for you to do that. And Andy England says, I can't wait to see who will sign tomorrow. Come on, you Spurs. Well, tomorrow I think Gibbs-White, but I can't wait to see who we sign next after that. Be really interesting. I think Spurs are laying down a marker here, showing a statement of intent that we are going to fix the problems that we've got in our squad. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Arch says maybe showing this ambition in the transfer market will convince QT Romero to stay. He did call out the ownership about that a few months ago after all. Exactly what I was saying. I think this is very, very exciting for the prospect of Romero staying. P-Man says 4-2-3-1 with our players is going to rock this year. I agree. Daniel Pender, if Bergvall shined in the top 4 club last season, people would say he's a generational talent. Very special player we have. Yeah, listen, Lucas Bergvall will be in the team, I think. I think he will be supplemented by these kind of signings. Really, really exciting. Be really interesting to see what happens with Brennan Johnson, because I have to say, when I first heard some of the rumours about Morgan Gibbs-White, I did wonder whether there was a chance that Tottenham would try and include Brennan Johnson in a kind of swap deal, but no. Thomas Frank, I think, will like Brennan Johnson, and he, as I mentioned in my videos yesterday, I think he'll want to play inverted wingers next season, Thomas Frank. So maybe Brennan Johnson will have a chance to impress us on the left side cutting in. Okay, Spurs have released some new photos of our new signing. So let's have a look. There's that one. There's that one. There's in the great black kit, guys. That's a brilliant kit, isn't it? One of the best kits that we have released in years, without a shadow of a doubt. Mohammed Kudus, honestly, it's going to be very cool. I saw Ben Bowman, who, by the way, you should all follow on TikTok, on YouTube, really good Spurs content creator. I saw him message earlier that Reading next week is going to be biblical. Spurs have Reading in a pre-season friendly next week. I think it's at the Majewski, or whatever the Reading ground is now called, formerly the Majewski. And it did, his tweet about that did make me wonder, oh, shall I go over to Reading to watch that game? I wonder if there are tickets. Paul Bean says, I really think Sarr, Bergvall and Gray are going to be monstrous in our midfield over the next 6 or so years. We do have very exciting young talent at the club, and now we are supplementing it with ready now players who can beat men who have done it in the Premier League. They're also sturdy players. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but Gibbs-White and Kudus, very strong physically, and I did expect that Thomas Frank would want some more physicality in the team, and it looks like we're trying to get that. Matty Smith says, for me, it seems like we're signing players that go straight into the starting 11. Really, really positive. Completely agree. Jock says, on a different note, you're still looking forward to the Super Cup? I really am. I'll tell you why. Because Paris Saint-Germain have the final on Sunday, which is literally a month away from the Super Cup final. They then have to, legally, via FIFA, give all of their players 3 weeks off. So they will only come back, PSG, 1 week before the Super Cup final. So listen, normally, and probably still, I'd say Tottenham have absolutely no chance in that game. However, with them only having a week back, they won't be at full match fitness. So, there's a chance. I'm just saying there's a chance. Boinkers says, does Levy have sunstroke? Quick, hide the sunscreen for more of the same. Exactly. Completely, exactly. Francis says, Eza, would that be too much? I think Eza is going to South Woolwich Arsenal, unfortunately. Yeah, but Phil, I'm coming to Brighton tomorrow night. I've got a gig at the Forge Comedy Club, Phil, if you want to come along. If you do, try and grab me and say hello after the gig. Maybe we'll have a drink at the bar or something. Matty says, don't be surprised if Son does move on after pre-season now. For me, look, I think it's up to Sonny. If he wants to go, then we should let him leave with open arms and let him do his thing. But if he wants to stay one more season, then I think he make an incredible option for Tottenham Hotspur next year. And we are going to have options. One thing I noticed when I watched a documentary with Thomas Frank, he loves talking about having finishers. He doesn't talk about, it's like a very modern day kind of rugby term, but he doesn't like to talk about his substitutions as substitutes. He talks to them about finishers, about them being finishers. So they come on to finish the game off, to make important impacts. And Sonny and Tell, and Kudus and Johnson and Maddison and Gibbs-White, they're not all going to get on the pitch at the same time. But in terms of if it's not going right, or in terms of if we need to get an extra goal, if we're 1-0 up, those options coming off the bench, you do not want to be an opposition player, do you? You really don't. So that's another reason to be excited, I think. Dafarsha says, I'd play Johnson at inside left with Son and Tell alternating as required. His pace will be useful to keep up with Kudus's breaks. Well, that's true. Kudus is very quick, and then Johnson is great, obviously, at keeping up and getting in at the back post. But I don't think we'll be seeing similar tactics to under Ange, where it was all about getting to the byline and cutting it back. Archer says, in Brighton, where did you say, Barnaby? It's the Forge Comedy Club, Archer. The Forge. And I'm on in the middle section. So I'll be on about 9 o'clock. Matthew says, I don't see those players as bad signings, but we're getting overexcited about them. I seriously believe players like Greenwood, Conceição, Bone, and Gonçalves, and Goncalves are better. And Buemo is a shame. Are you talking about Mason Greenwood, Matthew? No, don't want Mason Greenwood at my club. Sorry, mate. Paul says, I think changes our medical team are going to be as important as our signings on the pitch. And that is not a joke. If we can keep our players healthy, we can be top 5 this season. I think a lot of that, I agree, by the way, but I think a lot of that will come down to a difference in the way that we train, the difference to the way we play on the pitch. Ange was very open and transparent about being all about, we never stop. We outwork the opposition. We take every free kick and throw in quickly. And I think at the end of it, in terms of the amount of sprints they all had to do and the lack of sometimes in a game, you just need to take a breather. I think it did for Tottenham's players far too many times. I'm really hopeful that under Thomas Frank, and they've made some changes in the medical team. He's brought across some of his medical team from Brentford. I'm hopeful that we will get our players on the pitch far more regularly than we did under Ange Postecoglou. And I love Ange. I love Big Ange, and I was really excited to see that Big Ange Postecoglou got a trophy, didn't he, today, or an award? I think given by ironically, the chairman of Nottingham Forest about being, is it maybe the first Greek manager to win a European trophy, something like that? And Ange was very happy to have received it. So let's see. Robert Yee says, priority and circumstances will determine the Super Cup. Said that before. Listen, I'm telling you now, Tottenham have a chance to win the European Super Cup final. It's not a big chance because Paris Saint-Germain are unbelievable. But I think on this Sunday, Paris Saint-Germain will beat Chelsea in the final of the World Club Cup. Then in a month's time, we will play Paris Saint-Germain in the European Super Cup. And if we were to win it, I envisage us singing all season that we are the best team in the world. Okay, Pedro Porro has written on Instagram, welcome, fire emoji. Now I just have to put up with your 1 versus 1s in training. Ha ha ha, with all those emojis. That's to Mohammed Kudus. You cannot say that this Spurs squad are not like a family. They love it. They absolutely love it, these boys. And I think this is only going to get better. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm having a beer, but I just have really exciting feelings about this coming season. I'm not going to go overboard. I think it will take some time and we may need some patience, especially early in the season, as the players have to get used to the various different tactical tweaks and styles that Frank wants to play, both between games and in game. But I'm very, very excited by what I think we are building at Tottenham Hotspur. And look, I know a lot of people won't like this, but Daniel Levy said in an interview that he was willing to put out that he wanted to win the Champions League and the Premier League. And a lot of people said, well, you got to put your money where your mouth is. Well, in the last 24 hours, he spent 110 million quid. And I'll give you this as an example. And look, maybe Liverpool only needed one player to top them off, but Liverpool just spent 120 million pounds on Florian Wirtz. As far as I'm concerned, where Tottenham are at the moment, I'd prefer the 2 players we've got for 110, but there we go. Trao Rizzo says, what I'd do for a beer right now, just go and get one. Scribble Scrabble says, I love Pedro Porro. He's such a laugh. He is a great laugh, isn't he? And came back to the training ground early for pre-season training. Not many people do that. Gary Paul Speed says, hearing Wharton is next in, then Robinson from Fulham as the left back. I would be absolutely ecstatic with those signings. My only issue with Wharton, and obviously he's a brilliant ball player and he's great. Reminds me a bit of Carrick, actually. But is he physical enough to really be that kind of domineering number 6? The reality is, though, there are not many players around who are. So he would be an amazing, amazing signing. Robert Yee says, Frank almost had 2 20-goal attackers last season. That's a rarity for safety clubs. Last season was Frank had his 4th attacker. I don't understand that last bit, but anyway. Alex Lewis says, Kulu's painful on the wing. Disagree with that, mate. I really do disagree. I think because he's not pacey, you think that's why, but he's very, very dangerous and his crossing from the right-hand side, left foot towards the back post is really brilliant. Really brilliant. Billy makes a good point here. We need to thank the big man winning that trophy, made the board more ambitious. Completely agree. Big Ange Postecoglou. I've said it a few times. I'll say it again. I'm desperate for him to get a really good job, and I will follow the rest of his career. I love Big Ange Postecoglou. Raider275 says, Barnaby, do you think we'll sign Wharton? If not, I'd love us to go for Stiller from Stuttgart. He's a great player. I'll need to check out Stiller. I don't know much about him, but Wharton, there are just lots of reports about Tottenham being interested in Adam Wharton. I think Crystal Palace are in a difficult position. Lyon, it looks like, are going to play in the Europa League, so Palace will at the most, I think, be downgraded, or at the least, sorry. And maybe that will mean they need to sell. But Eza wants to leave. I think Gay wants to leave. So I don't think they'll sell all those players. Let's see, what else have we got? Maurice Richards says, well, when I go to bed, I have to say it's been a great April the 1st today. Spurs really had me going there. Yeah. I mean, that is a good example. I know you're joking, but it's a good example of what we've kind of all been through down the years as Spurs fans. But I genuinely think this has just been an unbelievable day of Tottenham showing that the revenue factor of the stadium, the winning of the Europa League, the being back in the Champions League is all growing towards us finally being able to loosen those purse strings a little bit. Also, let's talk a bit about wages. I said yesterday, I think Kudus, because he joined West Ham for £38 million. I think he will have been on at least 100 grand a week at West Ham, maybe 125. So I imagine at Spurs, he's on at least 150 grand a week and probably 175,000. Morgan Gibbs-White, I think at Forest will have been on probably 100 grand a week. And I think he'll be on at least 150, 175 grand a week at Spurs. So that shows that when they are looking to buy or when they are buying players that they think are oven ready for the first team, they are willing to pay those big wages. They need to keep this going now. Imagine if during this summer, I said yesterday, imagine if we got 3 in. I'm now saying I haven't got 2 in 24 hours. Imagine if we got 4 players in who could potentially go straight into the first team to supplement what we have in this squad. Really, really exciting. All will pass. Says Eza has a better chance of winning trophies at Tottenham or Crystal Palace. Why Arsenal? Yeah. Good point. Jazzle, thank you for your comments. It's such a nice change to be so happy about some Spurs transfer activity, especially Gibbs Lillywhite. Yeah, I think Gibbs-White is a very exciting player. He's played a lot of minutes as well for a 25-year-old and has international experience. I have to say, £60 million for an England international from an English club to English club move, that is a steal. That is a steal. I'm telling you that now. Hotspur Z8R says, great to see the signings early. Tactical work before season starts is going to be crucial. Completely agree. Could not agree more, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Once again, please do give this video a like if you haven't already on YouTube, and do subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. And I will say I'm going to do about 10 minutes more of this. But after this, if you're looking for something to fall asleep to tonight, I've just done a little 8-minute documentary about Mohammed Kudus and his journey. His football journey all the way to Tottenham Hotspur. I released it when the deal was announced, so check that out on your YouTube channel. Gary says, Barnaby, I think it's obvious to all of us Spurs fans that the investment has now come into the club and that we're spending it before announcing it so clubs don't up their asking prices for players. Yeah, I said this earlier. If that's the case, smart business work from Daniel Levy. I don't think, if that has happened, I don't think that is something that, the kind of journalists on the Spurs beat will miss. I think we'll find out in the next few days. Okay, we've got some more quotes from Mohammed Kudus. So I'm going to just play this into the microphone.
Always wanted to play at the highest level. How big the club is, the history, and the Champions League as well. So it's a big moment. I'm finally here. I'm very happy and can't wait to start. Most important part of why I come here is the project and how the manager sees I can develop under him, where he's come from.
Anyway, maybe you couldn't hear that very well because you're all dropping off, but it's Mohammed Kudus saying basically he came for Champions League, very excited about the project. Make sure you get over to the Tottenham Twitter channel. You'll be able to see that video. Scribble Scrabble asks where the link is. It's just the last released video on my YouTube channel in the main video section, mate. So go and check that out after this live stream. Matthew Ball says, I would have loved Eza, Grealish, Simons or Kakare over Gibbs-White. Nonetheless, Gibbs-White is good. Vert's on another level and Mason Greenwood is still innocent. New evidence proves so. Mate, honestly, we're not getting into that, but Mason Greenwood was recorded on audio, and I'm sure we've all heard it, saying what he wanted to do to that woman who was his girlfriend at the time, who since dropped her statement and they've got married. And I'm sure a lot of pressure was put on that situation. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Francis says, Barnaby, what about moving Cutie to the 6 with great passing and him being a defensive maestro? Yeah, I've talked about this a little bit before. I do think there are players who are comfortable taking the ball on the half turn, and there are players who prefer to see the entire pitch in front of them. And I think Romero is the latter. I think he likes to have the ball in centre back because he can see everything in front of him, and we would miss him if we tried to move him anywhere else. Eugene says, ecstatic over the last 24 hours. Just hope it's not going to be a quiet transfer window from here on. Mate, it's not. It's not going to be quiet. I have full belief that Tottenham are going to have a generational transfer window. I think we're going to spend £300 million. I think it'll be £200 million of kind of organic budget and £100 million that we're going to try and get in with the sales of players such as Basuma, Solomon, Richarlison, maybe a couple of others, and possibly Son if he decides he wants to leave. Hassan says, I've been seeing links of Wharton being real close to being signed next. Any authenticity on that? I don't have any authentic news on that. It's just reports as far as I'm aware. Hod God says, if we can purchase Adam Wharton, we'll take Spurs to another level. He's the glue to our first 11. Let's see what happens. I think the thing with Wharton is, why wouldn't other clubs be interested in him? He's really shown since he moved to Crystal Palace from Blackburn what a exciting young player he is. So let's see. Henry says, good day to be a Spurs fan. Couldn't agree more. Connor says, today is to do Osman next. I don't think Osman would pass Thomas Frank's dickhead test, personally. The wages that he's asking from every club who are interested in him, I just don't think so. I really can't see that. Hello says, don't think we sign number 6 this season, but I think we get Belieber in 2026. Okay, that's interesting. I think we will go for a number 6 this season. Let's see what happens. Joe Blogs, good point. Palhinha from Bayern, but Palhinha I think is available. He's been at Bayern for a year now since moving from Fulham. He was great in the Premier League at Fulham, but I'm always a little wary of getting players who've kind of already had their big move to a club who are kind of bigger than Spurs. So I would be a little wary of getting Palhinha back. Would he be that motivated? Would he have the desire? Let's see what happens. Oliver says, Porro's vibes are so underrated. Completely agree. Darksung says, we got good deals for both Kudus and Gibbs-White. Valanga went for 55 and João Pedro for also 55 and Cunha for 62.5. It does feel like that kind of 55 to 65 million is where most players are going now. That kind of deal. Be interesting. It's interesting to see, isn't it? And what else have I got here? The Hitman says, what is our ceiling/target now that we're signing impact players? For me, I've been saying it for a while, but I'll say it again. I think Tottenham will be challenging for the top 5 next season. Don't forget, in Ange's first season, we got 5th place. And I think last season was a bit of an anomaly. So I do think that we can challenge that top 5. I really do. But I'll ask again, or I'll say again, I think we're going to have to be patient at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's going to be easy as they're getting used to what Thomas Frank wants. But if we're patient, similar to how we were with Pochettino's first season, I think there will be a point where it'll go over the tipping point, and Tottenham, with all these exciting players, will suddenly really start hitting their straps. And over the next 2 seasons, I think we could really grow into an exciting team. The other thing I'd say, and I don't like talking about South Woolwich, Arsenal, but don't forget, the year after we beat them under Conte in that race for top 4, everyone thought, Gary Neville and everyone was saying, and this will last, and we'll see of Arsenal for a long time. That's what people will be expecting from Spurs this season because we came 17th. Things can change around very quickly, and Arsenal had been growing at that point. They'd been buying young players and they'd been growing. But things can change quickly, and I think Tottenham will end up having a great season. I really do. Jazzle says, someone saying we're now overloaded in the middle. I don't agree. Decent squad depth is needed. Exactly. You want us to be, Spurs fan base has been calling for ages, act like a big club. Well, now we're acting like a big club. So don't worry about if there are options in different positions. That is what has to happen. Lazy 8 says, just saw the Kudus intro vid the club released 10 minutes ago. Apparently Kudus wants to entertain the fans. The new home kit is starting to grow on me. Yeah, me as well. And listen, this is Tottenham. To dare is to do. We're all about having flair players. It's very exciting. Really, really exciting. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been a really enjoyable live stream. Got an hour out of it. Please do give this video a like on YouTube if you haven't already. Please do subscribe to the channel. And as long as I'm not in Brighton, if they manage to announce the Morgan Gibbs-White deal before I go to Brighton tomorrow, I'll be back on a live. But in the meantime, go and check out my little 8-minute documentary on Mohammed Kudus that I released about an hour ago. It's on my YouTube channel. And listen, let's enjoy what has been an amazing 24 hours as a Spurs fan. Come on, you Spurs.